Hey everyone, Red X Rain here, coming at you with another episode of Let's Play Disney's Aladdin. This time for the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, whichever you prefer or grew up saying. This is roughly the half point of the game, so I should be able to finish things up here and sort of conclude this very first... Oh, look at that. Didn't know I could do that. Swipe up like that. Doesn't seem very useful. I thought it would help me maybe get the bat. Hate these bats. But yes, hopefully I should have no problem finishing this up and, concluding my first, this is supposed to rise, there we go. My very first Console Wars special, so we'll see how this game sort of stacks up on its own, and then we'll go back and compare it to the Super NES version that I played, my previous two videos. So, not previous two, my first two of this series. Anyway, so here we are in the Cave of Wonders, and while not really checkpoints, there are these statues along the way. I kind of hit the first one really fast, but it kind of unlocks the next area. But also, speaking of statues, we have these pseudo-Shiva statues, not technically, because I think Shiva's supposed to have way more arms than that, but, you know, whenever you... Oh, come on, man. Whenever you leave white people to make to make games or stories about anything, you know, from the East, you tend to get a lot of sort of homogenization there. But that's okay, because now I can actually show what I was talking about before. So yeah, there's these big red gem-holding monkey things, and you gotta sort of break those to kind of progress on through this level. Those Shiva statues can be a real pain. If you don't know what to do. They're, the closest I could think, or the closest kind of, I don't know, comparison I guess I could make is that they're kind of like boos from, the Mario franchise, where when you look at them, they don't do anything. It's when you turn your back on them that they attack. And the statues here, they just kind of like I guess they throw gems at you, they throw something at you. So the strategy is actually pretty simple, is to keep looking at them and just keep swiping your sword as you run at them, and by the time you reach them, they're pretty easily killed. That one was a little trickier because it's in between these spikes, but basically just try and keep them in your sights all the time, or just run off screen and then turn around. Obviously that doesn't always work, like here I have to kind of have my back turned while I climb up here, but really not too bad. Oh man, sounds like a huge ruckus. There must be some like huge boulders falling or something, right? No, just these tiny little rocks. Usually I think the sound design, there's the Abu token, so we'll be able to play a mini game if and when we beat this level. Of course I'll beat it, come on. Yeah, usually I really like the sound design of this game, but I feel like they really went overboard. The size of those boulders, I think the sound is fine, but I think they could have made those boulders a little bit bigger. Man. This level's not too bad. It's really big, or it's pretty big, and it's pretty sort of expansive. I feel like it's maybe it's not any bigger, or I'm sorry, it's not any smaller than the dungeon level that I did last time. But something about, I think, sort of like the not open air. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more open air environment. Like the dungeon, appropriately so, is sort of a very claustrophobic level. This feels more open, I guess. But it is quite long, but it's pretty direct. And they give you lots of health in this one too, which is good. Because there's lots of like spikes and stalactites and stuff. I'm trying to get that bat. Of course, there's plenty of bats in here. Oh, maybe he's alright. There we go. Hit the statue. I'll need to go over there. Lots of checkpoints, too. That's good. More health. And there's more health over there to the right, but I think I want to keep climbing for a second. Not that I have to, but let me see if this is the area I'm thinking that it is. I think the peddler's over here. Yep. What you got? Alright, so we got 24 gems, so I'm gonna buy 2 continues, or wishes. I'm sorry, I'm gonna buy a bunch of lives and a wish. Other way around, 2 lives and a wish. This one we can jump and swipe if we want, or just use a couple apples. There we go. Now we can go back here. Usually when they give you this much health, it means that there's like a mini-boss fight coming up, and there's the mini-boss music. So this guy, this thing, it's like a monkey statue kind of thing. Really very easy once you get the rhythm down, which is pretty, you know, what can be said about all the bosses, I think, in this game. He's just teleporting back and forth, as you can see. I think they could have made this trickier if there was, like, maybe, like, 4, whatever, like, teleport pads, but he just keeps going back and forth. So all you gotta do is, yeah, just go over there. Don't overswipe. Don't, like, you know, keep mashing the sword attack button, because as I've talked about before, that doesn't really work in this game. It actually makes you miss. Checkpoint? Just take your time and shouldn't be a problem. Apples don't hurt him, otherwise I'd use apples. Water hurts Aladdin, as you can probably tell. I guess that's sort of a tricky part about this level. This is really the first level that has, Abu, that has like any sort of like instant death falling into, well, in this case it's water, but we'll see lava later on and stuff. This is a completely hidden area that is definitely worth checking out. It's right there. All you gotta kind of do is when you get to this cliff, is just kind of keep to the right and you'll fall into this area. Not really fall into it, but makes it sound like a bad thing. Why can't I get that? I think it's an extra life too, so I'd like to get it. I feel like I've gotten it before. Oh, there we go. That's what it was. Okay, you just gotta keep walking around. Here we go. Yeah, along the left side, it's not really too bad. It's some bats and just some really, just like pieces of rock kind of like come out and you just kind of scale it like stairs. It's not too bad, but with the extra life and extra health being over here, why would you not take it? Actually, that was pretty swift. That is a lot shorter than the dungeon level. There's no doubt about it. Some apples. I am running a little low on apples, so it'd be nice to have some more. Yeah, got 10 apples out of it. I already got 9 lives, which is plenty at this point. Alright, this bonus level. I practiced this one a little bit before. I didn't do so good on the first Abu bonus level. There's only 2 in the whole game, I think. I'm almost positive there's only 2. But this one is, I think, more direct. It's kind of like wherever the gem falls, just hang out underneath that ledge. Oh! Oh well. Nice try. Thanks, game. Oh yeah, more of these cutscenes. So just to kind of clarify something that I said last time, I was mentioning how much overall I love the art style of this game. It's really great. I really appreciate it looks more like pen and ink style, I think, than the Super NES version. When I was playing the Super NES version, I was talking about how a lot of Super NES games, especially ones that are like aimed specifically for children, there we go, have this kind of like plastic, rubbery look. But I really appreciate that this version has more of a. It looks more so like a cartoon. Actually animated with, you know, like I said, sort of pen and ink and in real color, not that, not so much like a sprite. Things don't feel or look like sprites in this game. So this level is, it's kind of tricky. Levels I think you gotta kind of like play over and over and over again to kind of get the overall sense of where and when to jump. Should I go up? Yeah, it's easy to get. Because there's like lots of instant death here. I mean, you touch those big boulders, you know, the Indiana Jones style boulders, Temple of Doom stuff going on here. That's instant death. There's lots of course, you can't touch the lava, which I'm not really seeing because I like to sort of take the high road. There's a couple of paths you can take, but I'm not much for jumping from tiny platforms to other tiny platforms, and that's really what's all along the bottom here. Although here I have no choice. I have to go down here. And then we got lava spurts. Ah. Yeah, so I was saying I wanted to clarify something. I think this is actually the perfect level to do it. I had mentioned how kind of not just sort of the graphic design quality of it, but also just kind of the little bits of humor and kind of like little hidden stuff in the background, and just the overall a little bit more, I don't know, a slightly more adult, slightly more realistic approach to the whole design of this game could be attributed to this game sharing some sort of development history along with the Earthworm Jim series, which I feel like was a big kind of overstatement. What I should have said was that the designer for this game was David Perry, who would go on to form Shiny, the company that, in addition to many other games, there we go, is also the team, there we go, sort of the team leader behind Earthworm Jim as well. So I think his overall sort of design scheme can really be felt here, and then it was just kind of realized even fuller, this whole sort of Shiny Studios aesthetic with games like Earthworm Jim. And I thought that this was a great level to kind of bring that up because it reminds me so much of Heck, where I think that's like, gosh, in the original Earthworm Jim game, it's probably like the second or third, like, oh, okay. Yeah, it touched me. Okay, so this is where I think I was when I was talking about just finishing up my Earthworm Jim connection here. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Heck, the way that like the caves, the sort of cavernous look, the very jagged, molten lava stuff going on. So I don't know if that was, because this was really a sort of this Aladdin game was a big step up for David Perry. It's really like one of his earliest sort of head design kind of things going on. So I don't know if he realized that kind of going into making Earthworm Jim, that I mean, maybe that's a stretch to say that, Heck is a homage to the Aladdin game that he worked on. I'm not trying to say that, but there's something about that style that I think just really like that specific level design that just kind of persisted. So this is somewhat similar. This is the first level that's at least somewhat comparable to having a counterpart in the Super NES version, the big escape from the Cave of Wonders here. In the Super NES version, it was much more, you can kind of go wherever. You could go up, down. You could also move forward, backwards. This is purely up and down. Plus you have it's not really like cavernous in the way that the Super NES version was. The speed just gets faster and faster, and you can't get really hit by the lava behind you, again, because you can't move forward, backwards anyway, so you just gotta go by the genie's hand's direction, as I didn't do there. It's tricky. It's definitely very tricky. It's, after a while, it messes with your eyes. It's like one of those levels that you can kind of only do it, a couple of times, and it's like you gotta like step back, you gotta step away, because the super fast speed and like flowingness of it just really messes with your eyes. It reminds me of actually when I was doing gosh, it feels like it was forever ago, when I did my Echo Let's Play, which was a blind Let's Play, and there's like a level very near the end where you have to like travel up a tube, and it's just the camera just rushes. You have no control over that. You really only go. Well, the Echo one was really hard because you could move up, down, left, right, and there was a whole bunch of other stuff like attack and everything. This is a little bit easier than that, but it gets really tricky. And then there's points where it says question mark, so it doesn't tell you where you have to go. I think one's coming up. I'm also not quite sure what it is that Aladdin is. Oh, here we go. But I think with both of those you can go. I think you're supposed to go down. We'll see if that is true when I get to the next one. There's only two. I'm also not quite sure what it is that Aladdin is picking up here. They kind of look like tacos or empanadas. Somehow I doubt that. Oh my god, I was right there! I was right there. Okay, I'm almost at the end. This is the one that got me last time. See, I knew I was right there. I don't know why I went up and hit my head on the thing. That was stupid. Oh, anyway. Well, that was terrible. God, my eyes. Ugh. Jeez. Ugh. Oh, yeah. More, yeah. Yep. Trapped inside. Inside the lamp. Okay, so this, I guess, this level is also somewhat, very loosely like the inside the lamp levels in the Super NES version, but even less so than the comparison I made with the last level, the Escape. Because this really looks different. Actually, and if you look down there, you can see a Sega Genesis and a TV hidden in all the kind of garbage and very self-referential humor. But yeah, this level is at first I really hated it. I don't know. I have something against. I shouldn't say that. I have something against the inside the lamp levels. If anything, I say that because I'm just not as good at them. There's a lot of like very sort of tricky timed jumps, which that's the thing is when I'm done doing it, I'm like, oh man, that's pretty fun. I mean, that's what platforming's all about. I play so many platformers, and then I talk about how I don't like how difficult the platforming is. Well, then I'm playing the wrong genre of game. I really do. I do really like the design of this and everything. It's just really frustrating when you're so close, but you just can't get it, you know? So yeah, all around here, there's this, I guess it's like the genie's tail, or his arm, or something, whatever, it's just genie pieces. It's sort of interesting, you can kind of like fall through it, but you can keep jumping to like get to other things, so it's not solid ground. This part was really tricky. But thankfully, unlike the Super NES version, and that's like the best checkpoint in the whole game right there, unlike the Super NES version, the controls when Aladdin jumps in this one, and I want to kind of go back here, you gotta push yourself to the left to get a couple of, oh yeah, you can't buy any more than 9 lives, so I'll get a couple of continues, and then if we can just fall, and then push right away, because I don't want to fall into a pit. There we go. I mean, even if I died, I would have just started back there anyway, but why lose a life if I don't have to? But yeah, the jumping in this game is so much better, so much more, like, realistically balanced than the Super NES version. One of the things I was saying about the Super NES version was that the jumping, especially when Aladdin would, like, hold on to something and then try and jump, or do this, like, handstand jump thing, God, it was just like gravity just became like 10 times heavier. And this one, it pretty much stays consistent as he jumps from certain platforms, or the very rare occasions that he like hangs on to something in this version of the game. It's very consistent, and I appreciate that. It makes the platforming a little bit easier. All right, so I think there's just some apples over here. There we go. Alright, now this is the trickiest part of the level here. You gotta kind of duck to get the camera to... Or you can take a leap of faith once you get used to knowing it. Now these start to shrink and grow, so I gotta kind of... Oh! That wasn't very good. Oh, I lost all my apples. I was doing good on apples, too. Because I think I'm getting to a point where I need to really conserve my apple, We'll just conserve my apples. Hopefully I can get some in the mini-game. Yeah, so there's like this... Yeah, one thing you can do is, I did it last time, there's like a hidden spring over there, or you can do this. I guess that's how the game wants you to do it. It's not... I don't know. Not a huge secret. It doesn't save you a ton of time. It doesn't get you past this part, which I wish it did, but... I wish there was some other way around this part. Now, this part's not so bad with the hands. It's a pretty easy pattern to figure out. apples. Okay. I like to control fall through here. Grab that if I can. Sweet. And there we go. Yeah, I wish there was a checkpoint right here. This would be really helpful because this part sucks. Okay, you gotta bounce, and you gotta like kind of. It's weird with those hand flicky things. You gotta like really push away. Otherwise, it stops your jump. Look at how tiny this hand is. No, it doesn't. At least it doesn't go away. But my God, it's tiny. Now I gotta make this jump over here, and if you mess this one up, there we go. Nice. Whew. My first playthrough, I went through like an entire set of continues. I think I had probably 8 or 9 lives when I was here practicing, and I used them all up and a continue to get past that part with the flicking fingers. Oh my God, I had 6 of those genie tokens and I didn't get anything. But yeah, that's it for the Inside the Lamp level. Now that I played it, it's really not anything like the Inside the Lamp levels in the Super NES game. But yeah, that's one thing that I've talked about, sort of the absence of the Sultan's Palace. Yeah, yeah, we're getting near the end. We I don't want to dwell on it too much. Hold on. There we go. That's a kind of a grotesque noise for him to make. I mean, I guess it's kind of appropriate for jumping on the back of Flamingo, but I definitely don't want to jump in the water here, because, again, even though apparently it's only like ankle deep because these flamingos are standing in it, it's instant death for Aladdin. Ah, these little guys. You can't attack them. I didn't. There were a couple of them in the Cave of Wonders, Ziago, but I didn't really bother with them. But here I like to get them. And you can either you can hit them with an apple, which is hard because they jump in and out of the water, or if you're close enough, you can sword swipe them, or they spit out these. I don't know what they spit out, but so you can knock them back and hit them with their own weapons. Doesn't always work though. Oh, I got him. Man, I was not expecting that. Yeah, I know. I just don't want to fall in the water. Come on. There we go. So yeah, Iago's all over the place here. We'll see him even more up close later. Should I go back for that token? I probably should, because, I'll be alright. Oh, come on, man. God, how did I lose so much health already? Probably those stupid fish. Those flounder wannabes. Yeah, let's get this checkpoint first. And now I'll go back and maybe get stuff that I missed. Oh. I didn't get as much as I had hoped. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what I was going to say. So, I've already mentioned, and I don't want to, you know, sound like a broken record here, how one of the things that I did like about the Super NES game was the closer to being like, I guess, quote-unquote legitimate cutscenes, there we go, is that, like, even here, like, the past, like, few levels, it's been all text, just saying what happens in the story as opposed to showing us even little pictures. Oh my God, one more hit and I'm done? Are you serious? Oh, and there's that hit. That's alright. Oh, God. But yeah, like, the genie doesn't, like, show up at all in this game, which I think is, that's weird. Right? I mean, we just had that Inside the Lamp. I mean, yeah, we got the genie tokens, but, like, the genie as a character is, like, nowhere to be seen, which, that's a travesty. That's a crime, in my book. Don't get any dialogue from him, nothing. Again, same could be said for Princess Jasmine, who, you know, integral to the story, but this is very much just focused on Aladdin, and then Abu gets his, even Abu gets his little bonus levels, like, you know, come on. Seems unfair. I like how there's, like, multiple Iagos just, like, flying around. Sometimes there's, like, 2 on the screen, so That's kind of weird. There we go. That was handled much better that time. Basic guards. We haven't seen those very often. I feel like they didn't really utilize that very well. So there's these black lamps which kill all the enemies on screen. There was one in the Agrabah Market. There may have been another one in the Agrabah Market somewhere, but then there's this one. But it's just really weird because it's, I don't know, if it was an item that you could like hold maybe and carry and like use at a specific time, I guess that would make more sense, but it's really weird that you just kind of like, they're all, you know, they're in one place, and you walk up to it, and it destroys all the enemies on the screen. Like, what is that really supposed to do for the player? Like, again, if it was a held item that you could use somehow, like through an inventory or something like that, sure, but, by the way, there's the Beast. You can kind of see him from in this pile of, or stack of little animals, which is, again, just another Disney reference. Oops. Got distracted by the Beast. One thing that I hadn't talked about, but I was thinking about it was, you know, even though for this Let's Play I'm focusing on, you know, sort of the battle between the Super NES version and the Genesis version, but I think it is important to note that this game was ported to other systems as well. Of course, I'm not going to show all of those, but you know, I'll mention it while I have the time here. So, definitely this version, the overall Sega version by Virgin Games, received the most ports. So of course it's, you know, here it is on the Genesis and the Mega Drive. It was also ported to the, thinking about if I wanted to go for that. Yeah, oh, I can't, oh, okay, that moment has passed. I don't think I can jump back over that column. So yeah, we have, so this version was also ported to the Amiga back in the day. It was also made into an MS-DOS game, and from what I've heard, oh, let's free Abu. What I've heard is that actually the Amiga version is kind of the best, the DOS version is kind of the best. Actually, the Amiga might be programmed the same way. Like the music quality is heightened even more. That they kind of like, not remixed, but they remastered the sound. So it's supposed to have really, really good sound. And then there's a Game Boy and later a Game Boy Color port of this same game, and they were made really late in sort of the timeline of Game Boy games, and so it actually looks really good for a Game Boy game. Alright, so here's the Iago boss fight, which is not too hard as long as you have enough apples. So basically, just kind of, the hard part is kind of like getting up here, and yeah, it's again, it's very, very rhythm-based. Swipe just to kill the little ghosts that come up, and then jump and hit Iago with an apple. You can't hit Iago with a sword, so you have to have apples. If you run out of apples, they kind of reappear, or some more like kind of regenerate over on the left platform there, but then you open yourself up to, you have to jump over the barrels, and you get hit by the lightning and all that kind of stuff. But as long as you have, I think he only takes about 10 hits or so, so as long as you have like, oh my god, Jafar. But yeah, as long as you have, I'd say 15 apples, you're okay. But that's why I was saying earlier, I really wanted to conserve my apples a little bit. Nothing will prevent me from ruling all of Agrabah. Yeah, dream big, Jafar. You could probably rule the whole world, but you just want Agrabah, huh? All right. Alright, so this is the last level, actually. And we get a lot of reappearing enemies in this level. It kind of throws everything at you again. So again, we have more of these Shiva statues, plus the guards. We'll see Iago again, even though we kind of just defeated him. There we go. Maybe that's about it. Maybe there's... No, because there's no water in this, so I guess it's mostly just the guards and the Shiva statues. And Iago. And I definitely want to save... I definitely want to save apples here. So we need a lot of apples to finish the game. Again, not a choice. You need them. You cannot beat the game without apples. Which sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? So again, as much as I kind of like, oh, there's that really nice pseudo 3D swinging ball and chain, which looks really great. Yeah, again, I just think it's really weird that like Aladdin is given this, we're given the option to duel with swords, but it's kind of like the apples are the most important thing, and that's not just a matter of. Again, maybe some people use the sword a lot more than me on these regular enemies, but again, taking the emphasis off of the sword fighting aspect is kind of weird to me. Can I get Iago this way? Oh, nice. I'm glad I knew about that. Well, then again, I could just walk below him and he wouldn't hit me anyway, but... speaking of... oh yeah, I was talking about other ports. So yeah, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Amiga, MS-DOS, and Windows version, all based on this, and they're all exactly the same in terms of level design. Obviously, graphics look a little different based on the system. But then I thought it was weird. I was like, oh, so was the Super NES version only the Super NES version? And no, actually, there's a Game Boy Advance version. Do we have enough? I have enough for one more continue. Gosh, I'm probably up to about 5 or 6 continues. I'm surprised I'm doing so much better at this version of the game than the Super NES version, which I have way more experience with the Super NES version, playing it when I was a kid. This version I had to kind of learn just for this Let's Play. I've actually never played it. I didn't play it back in the 90s when it came out. But yeah, there is a Game Boy Advance version of the Super NES version, and it came out like crazy late. Like, both of these games, the versions I'm playing for the Sega and for the Super NES came out in '93, November of '93, both of them. But this Game Boy Advance version of the Super NES port came out in like 2004, which is really weird that they waited like 10 years and it's like, hey, remember when we made this game 10 years ago? Let's port that. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. But then again, I think even for this one, this Virgin, we'll call it the Virgin Games version. The Game Boy Color port came out in 2000? At least that's a little bit closer, but still. We're nearing the end here, and I got 15 apples, which isn't great, but I think I can pull it off. Definitely want to get the health up here. Man, but then there's a lot of guards. One of the things that's kind of good about this level, or is good about this level, is that if you're... Oh yeah, there's one of those black lamps. Ugh. Oh my god, I'm wasting them all. One of the things I was saying was that if you're lucky, you can just kind of like hop along these platforms here and avoid the guards. You don't really have to fight them like that, or waste your... Oh, or you could fall and hurt yourself. But we're gonna get a lot more health. Ooh, 12 apples. I don't know that that's gonna cut it. Just keep swiping a little bit so that you can kill all the army of Iagos. And here we are, fighting Jafar. So this is a really hard fight if you don't know what you're doing. But when you do know what you're doing, it's not too bad. So you cannot hurt Jafar with the sword, which is really weird. Apparently an apple a day keeps the sorcerer away. But I ran out of apples, so I'm probably gonna die here. So they do regenerate here on these platforms, but now we gotta worry about jumping over flame, and I'm dead. So yes, you gotta worry about jumping over those flames, and now I'm really screwed because I'm not gonna have very many apples. You really need, gosh, I would like to have at least 20, if not more like 25 apples at this point to get them, because the really annoying thing is that, again, you get more apples during the fight. You can, but you have to like jump on those platforms. And once Jafar turns into a snake, once you get on top of those platforms, they shoot fire up. So it's like you almost have to take a hit to get apples. So this part of the fight, you really don't want to take any damage. Which is sometimes easier said than done. Oh my god. Oh gosh. Yeah, down to 1 apple. And see, again, this is just a matter of, if I had the apples, the rhythm's not that hard. Jump, throw an apple. Jump, throw an apple. But here I am with no apples again, and you have to go all the way. I didn't have to go to this side. I could also have gone all the way to the left, or to the right from where I was. You kind of have to go off screen a little bit. Okay, so I backtracked, and so now I have 23 apples. I had to go from like the checkpoint I was at and kind of backtrack as far as I could. This is going much better. I feel much more, I mean, yeah, 23 is pretty good. I think I can do it. Oh yeah, that was perfect. Nice, okay, no damage, all right. 12 apples, that should be enough. There we go. See, once you got the, oops. Ooh, getting really close. Oh, come on. Shit, not quite enough. So, yep, I gotta take a couple hits. I know this is really exciting commentary, but but I've been, as if you've been taking note of my lives, I've been at this a little while now. Oh my god, one more hit and I'm done. Oh my god, I made it! Oh man, that was lucky. That was too close. Because that fire was about to hit me, I know it. Whew, okay. So I guess that's more like 30 apples to really, and you have to make everyone count. So there's the end. Very abrupt, right? I know, it's really weird in that sort of way. It feels like a very anticlimactic ending. We don't get any kind of closure. We know that we defeated Jafar, I guess, but we don't get any kind of closing scene, which I guess, you know, now that I'm getting into a little bit more of criticism kind of thing here, to talk about that. So actually, let's go ahead and go through the breakdown for this. So graphics, I'm gonna give that a 9 out of 10. Am I being a little bit nitpicky here? Maybe, but isn't that what reviews are supposed to be, a little bit nitpicky? So, I mean, just the overall look of the game is absolutely gorgeous. It looks so good. Why I say 9 out of 10? The lack of cutscenes and kind of the very brief approach that's given to just, oh, let the text kind of tell the story in between the levels. I don't like that. I feel like they really could have done a lot more. Again, looking at how great the rest of the game looks, man, they could have done some great cutscenes, or they could have done something. I didn't really like that. So 9 out of 10 on graphics for that very slight fault, I think, from my perspective. The controls, I'm also going to give a 9 out of 10. Nitpicky? Yeah, that's the kind of person I am, I guess. Yeah, the jumping, so much far above and beyond what the Super NES version is. Everything feels great there. Apple throwing mechanic works great. But again, the reason I say 9 out of 10 is because the sword is a little clunky. Again, some might say, well, you just have to know how to use it. And maybe that's true, but I feel like and again, it's not just a matter of, oh, the sword isn't utilized very much, but the reach on it isn't very good. You have to get very close to enemies, and you end up taking more hits when you use the sword, and not quite a missed opportunity, because it is utilized pretty well, but you know, you have to kind of really know how to use the sword, and so that controls, I'm kind of like, not so much. Sound and music, this far and away is the best part. Well, along with the graphics, is the best part of the game. Again, I'm just attributing this all to design. Yeah, 10 out of 10 for sound and music. I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, it's really got you know, really nice versions of music from the movie that I think carries over really well into the game. The Sega sound chip and all that sort of thing, I think, really lends itself better to this kind of thing. And now we get a looping of demos and that kind of thing. So we'll just let that play out. But yeah, 10 out of 10 for sound and music. Okay, so let's see. Gameplay. This I've kind of gone back and forth on gameplay. I wanted to say 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, so let's say 7.5 out of 10. There's pretty good variety of gameplay elements here with, like the escape one when you're on the carpet, and so it's not all just strict platforming. But is it varied enough? I don't know. And I feel like this is maybe a conflict to say that this is a matter of gameplay and not a matter of story, which is not really a metric that I'm using on this scale here at all. But kind of like just like the pacing of it feels really off. We spend so much time. Oh, and here it is, the game playing it. So much time is focused on Agrabah and like Cave of Wonders, getting to the Cave of Wonders. That's more than half the game. Then there's just pretty much, once you get out of the Cave of Wonders, it's just, okay, go to the Sultan's Palace and beat Jafar. There's the inside the lamp level. But that, again, I think because those levels are so limited, though beautifully designed they may be, kind of skews the gameplay in a way that I just don't care for. So you know what? I'm retracting that. Gameplay, 7 out of 10. Okay. And then finally, let's talk about replay value. I had admitted that the Super NES version, not great gameplay-wise, but it had those red gems to look for. There's certainly stuff to look for in this version as well. Things like the Abu tokens and the Genie tokens and that kind of thing. But the Abu tokens are really not very hard to find. There's only 2 of them. So that doesn't give me, and I found them on my first playthrough, as I think most people would if they're, not completely rushing through the game. So just to kind of get this out of the way, replay value, I'm going to say 5 out of 10. I feel like I've pretty much gotten, although I enjoyed the experience very much, I do not feel any desire to go back and play it again immediately. And again, I'll admit, it's the same thing for the Super NES version. Once you get to the end, I'm pretty satisfied with like story and closure and all that kind of stuff. But if I really wanted to, if I had to think about a reason, hey, why would I want to go back and play the Super NES version? It's to find those, to find the red gems, which are not a great payoff in of themselves, but it's kind of fun to see if you can challenge yourself to find them all. That's not so much the case here. I guess there's the high. You can go for like a really good high score, but again, I feel even less of a desire to want to play this immediately after having beaten it. Again, maybe in a couple months I'd feel like playing it again, but even so, I really don't feel that way either. Again, maybe I can go back and kind of appreciate the art direction of it all, which again is the highlight of this game, this version of the game. That still doesn't have a huge impact on replay value. So, totaling all that up, we got a composite score of 40 out of 50, which is pretty good. Not only that, but comparing it to the scores from the Super NES version that I played earlier, which is really the point of this, is to see who comes out on top. Sega version comes out on top, 40 out of 50 as compared to the 35 out of 50 on the Super NES version. I'm actually kind of surprised that it came that close. Again, not that I'm trying to skew the numbers in any sort of way, but I don't know. I was expecting a bigger gap. I think. There's just sort of looking at the numbers. It's the design of the Sega version that makes it just that little bit better. I think, again, gameplay-wise and everything, the games are pretty comparable. It all comes down to the art and the design of the Sega version. So there we go. We've seen both versions. I've heard both opinions. And so now that's the end of the very first Console Wars special. I've got plenty more in mind, and so we'll see how that goes. But for now, we can give 1 point. There we go. We can give 1 point to Sega winning the Console Wars for now. But this is just one Battle of the Wars, so we'll have to see how that goes in the future. and I hope you will join me then. And of course, check out other stuff on my channel. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. I do always appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time.